Hello, I'm Kimberly Henry, and this is Living the Good Life. In this series, we'll feature conversations around ways to embrace the goodness of life and take a big, juicy bite out of it. Food for the soul and the funny bone. Learn to give more time to yourself, become a better friend, lead an amazing life, and how to tell the best joke at the party. Living the good life can mean different things to different people. Whatever it is for you, I hope you'll find some inspiration here to live your most joyful, authentic life. Now, on to today's conversation. Our guest today has worked as a journalist, arts editor in Indiana and Colorado. She's coordinating now PR, digital marketing, and social media for Meals on Wheels of Hancock County in Indiana, and is a skilled writing, graphics art, community relations, and stand-up comic. We're going to talk more about that coming up. April's a wife, mom of 2 boys, and I love this, enjoys long walks in the woods, dreaming about skiing in the Rocky Mountains, and we'll talk about that too, playing tennis and camping with her family. Please welcome to Living the Good Life, April Allford, which I think she's bringing a lot of what we do here with her. So April, it's good to see you, and we know each other. We'll talk about that too. Good to see you in
so excited. Thank you.
In podcast land, even though neither one of us is in Colorado where we first met.
Exactly. And I know we're both sad about it sometimes.
Well, incidentally, I am jumping on a plane on Thursday to head back for a little holiday visit. You. Yes. So wonderful. I'm totally excited about that. So we wanted to talk a little bit today about using humor in everyday life and how that comes into play. And you certainly are an expert at it. What's going, I mean, even right now at this moment, because I can see you on the screen, I know that there's something you'll be laughing about later, I'm sure. So
yes, definitely. Well, I have my 6-year-old sitting right next to me. He's home from school with strep throat, unfortunately, but he's getting better. And yeah, he just wanted to know where you disappeared to. So it's like the little things like that. So cute. And I definitely get a kick out of a lot of the things that come out of his mouth.
So you came to being a mom after having quite a career. How has that changed everything for you?
I would say like completely changed everything. And I always say I am just completely opposite of what I used to be, but that's a little extreme. I'm still, into telling dirty jokes sometimes, but yeah, I still like a good dirty joke. And but I'm definitely, not the single lady kind of dating. Those were the jokes I would tell. And when I was a columnist at the newspaper, I wrote every week about my experiences. And being married to me seems just like a polar opposite of that lifestyle that I once led. So, but I would say, I love trying new things. And this would probably be the biggest challenge I've ever taken on, being a wife and mother in my late 40s. I was lucky enough to get pregnant at 42. Didn't expect to. I thought that ship had sailed. And I didn't really know that was going to happen. So, yeah, I'm kind of a late bloomer, as I like to tell people. So it's been kind of a wild ride. And yeah. Oh, sorry. So it's been fun. Yep, as you can tell, I've tried to keep the coughing to a minimum on this podcast, as well as things dropping or dogs barking. So.
Well, that's what I love about what we do here on the show and kind of in our community is there's not a separation between the professional and the personal. I mean, it's all very holistic. We've got life going on, all of us.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's so good to hear. Yeah, because that would be the best way to describe my life. Especially since, I mostly do freelance writing, and then I work from home doing the PR and marketing for a Meals on Wheels program locally here. So I'm definitely juggling kids, work, comedy, writing, things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all, it's not, I mean, sometimes I feel like it's a struggle, but when overall it's a really great life and I'm not complaining one bit.
No, you seem super happy in of course all of your social
Okay.
media, and I think that's genuine. It doesn't seem like it's only the best side, which
Yeah.
so much of social media is.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I could put some of the wild stuff that happens, but sometimes I just don't want to embarrass my kids
Right.
later down the road.
That's part of being a mom for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Well, that's good. See, I've got it. I've already caught on. I'm doing
Yeah.
okay, but I am 6.5 years in. So
So I
7 years
was
in.
doing a little homework before we got jumped on together, and saw, did some Google searches on April Clark of years past, and brought up
Yes.
some really fun memories and images of some of the work that you've done. The April Clark show, for example, and I
Yes.
think it was called the Blue Road Tour.
Possibly. My memory might fail me a little bit, but the April Clark show, yeah, that was one of my biggest accomplishments personally on a professional comedy level, is having my own show. And I kind of always dreamed of it. And then Carbondale helped me make it happen. I tell you, if you're ever going to be in a town that helps you create anything you want, any any way you want to do it, that Carbondale is the place to be. So I was lucky to have Steve's guitars, and then we also had the theater there that had opened up. So just a lot of things fell in line. I have a lot of musician friends out there, and so we had my house band was called the G Strings, and so a lot of those friends of mine. Oh my gosh, they were great. And then just a lot of my supporting cast with the April Clark show. We actually, a lot of us had met doing burlesque, and burlesque for me was all comedy. And I was definitely the funny one. I mean, I suppose I was kind of sexy in the corsets and all that, but my sole intention was to be the cute, the funny, bring the funny to that show. So yeah, so it all happened. And then I even had my mom come out. She came out during Christmas time when we had my holiday April Clark show, and she was Mrs. Santa Claus. So she still talks about that experience
Oh,
and
fun.
really loved it. Yeah, and she had such a good time. So yeah, I always like to tell her that was her comedy acting debut.
So your story isn't one where you jumped out of school and into stand-up comedy. You had a career as a journalist before and alongside that. What made you make the switch?
Well, actually, it was a reporting assignment that I got into stand up. At the time, there was a comedy troupe in Aspen called Laugh Your Aspen Off, with Mark Thomas was one of my good friends on that team and that crew. And I was kind of challenged to write about the experience. I was really big into narrative writing at that time and immersing myself in situations where I would write firsthand about what was going on. So, yeah, I was challenged to kind of follow the troupe, and follow and see how they were preparing. And then our first show, and my first time ever on a stage for stand up, was at the Wheeler Opera House in front of 500 people. So
Oh, wow.
it was not for Leary for sure. And basically, I just had like a 3-minute set, and I kind of worked off the fact that I was a journalist and I knew how to tell stories. And that was sort of the inspiration, was just, and for my comedy going on past that, was just to kind of get up there and tell some stories about myself. Very self-deprecating. That's usually my style. So those 3 minutes went by pretty fast. The audience was very kind to me and they laughed. So that's all it took. And I was hooked. But I did continue to write my column. And my weekly column in the Glenwood Springs Post-Independent was, I guess it was a humor column, but it wasn't always funny. There was always topics that came up that were serious or anything that happened to me that week. But I did try to continue the funny into the newspaper and try to cheer some people up, make some people laugh. And that's just kind of how it progressed. And I continue to be a freelance writer and still do when I can, when jobs come along. And so, but I definitely like that lifestyle of being on the go and being able to kind of work where you are. So I try to find work that makes me smile, makes me happy, sometimes can make me laugh, and I get a chuckle out of it.
That's a pretty big deal. I want to go back to the Wheeler Opera House, but before that, even just to let folks know who may not be familiar with some of the towns, Carbondale and of course Aspen and Glenwood Springs, those are all in Colorado, which is where April and I first connected way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when we were both in media. So April in newspaper and myself in radio. So it was in our younger years.
That's a good way to put it. Yes.
We were just little kids at the time, I'm sure.
I know. Well, compared to what I do nowadays, yes, I would say I was definitely enjoying myself a lot. I spent some really great years in Colorado.
Yeah. It's a great place to be. But the Wheeler Opera House is in Aspen, Colorado, and it's an historic performance venue. How did you come into that being your first place that you took the stage?
Well, like I said, that Laugh Your Aspen Off troupe, they really came out blazing. They were serious. They wanted to get serious gigs, and it just came to be, I believe it was at the time our publisher. He was for the Post-Independent or one of the guys on the ad side. He was sort of behind it, and I'm not sure how it happened and how he was able to secure such an awesome venue.
Wow.
Like you were saying, it's very historic. I mean, anyone that you can imagine has played there, either musically or comically. I mean, they used to have the big Aspen Laugh Fest every year there. So it was definitely an experience to walk out on that stage and see that huge crowd. Luckily, I couldn't really see past the first several rows of the audience. I probably would have been very intimidated the way the lights were. I just remember kind of just seeing out and seeing the first few rows. And so it wasn't as bad. And I definitely did not picture everyone naked, which is a thing they tell people when they're doing like public speaking or something, which is so strange. I don't even know if I could. I mean, my mind would go blank if I did that. So,
right.
But I just stayed. I knew it was going to be 3 minutes. And it's funny because that's sort of how it progressed for me with comedy. It was like 3 minutes, and I was doing 5 minutes, then 10, 20, 30. And I would always just tell myself right before, because I actually have anxiety. It's a thing that I work with and I deal with. And so to me, sometimes my mind is blown that I was able to pull off comedy of all the things to do when you have anxiety. But I would just tell myself, this is probably going to be either the worst 5 minutes of your life or the best. Seemed like it usually turned out the best. I only had a few times where I just completely crashed and burned, but it was okay because it was usually just part of everybody knew I was a new comic, so they the audience can be nicer that way too. But yeah, it just kind of happened. I don't know. The stars aligned and the Wheeler Opera House was open, and our group of comics just got up there, and I know we killed it that night. I've always heard since then that it was an awesome show. There was tons of laughter and tons of applause. So it was just kind of a magical time in the mid 2000s there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wait,
kind of crazy.
do you think you've always been sort of on the funny side, or did you study to learn how to be funny? How did is there a class in being funny?
There have been classes. But I would say I'm lucky because I have a really funny dad. His humor is interesting. I mean, he's not the kind of funny that just gets up on a stage and does stand up. He's just funny and everybody knows it and everybody loves him for his wisecrack. There's a lot of wisecracks, a lot of sarcasm. I don't know. It's kind of natural. But I also watched a lot of SNL when I was a kid, and my mom, I don't know if she knows this or not, but I would stay up quite late to stay up and watch all the old school SNL. And I mean, I'm talking like early 80s, and I watched a lot of that. Mel Brooks is also my favorite humorist, and I guess you call him a comic. He's more a film, but I've watched all his movies, and my Aunt Patty took us to see History of the World Part 1 at the movie theater when I was in, I don't know, whenever that came out. I was definitely like elementary school, almost middle school, maybe age, but I was in a rated R movie. But it's okay because it worked out. But it's funny because I just always had an appreciation for humor that wasn't always PC, I guess. I was laughing at Mel Brooks movies way before a lot of the comedy came out even. And then I was going to tell a story about when I was in Girl Scout camp. My friend Trisha, she loves to tell the story that I was like the camp that week. I was just like the camp comic. And if you need like humor or comic relief, you would just hang around me. And I like to make up songs about her. I had some song about Trish Trash. We were taking a bath. I don't know. I'm trying to remember these songs I would make up, but she, like I said, her name was Trisha, so she likes to tell that story. But I mean, and then I also found like through the years, getting older, self-deprecation was just kind of the way I dealt with being awkward in social situations, especially. I was kind of a late bloomer. I don't even think I hit puberty until I was like a sophomore in high school. So I was always the little one. I was my nickname in softball growing up was Half Pint.
Oh wow.
Because I was little, and I always felt super insecure. I still do. So if I tell a joke at a party, it's probably because I'm just feeling insecure. If anybody would like to know. But so it's just been so kind of a gradual thing. In high school, my best friend and I, we were kind of known as the funny ones. And I think I was voted the craziest girl in my class. And I try to tell people that's crazy good, not crazy bad. But and then I was pretty serious about journalism and being a PR kind of person for a long time. So working at the newspaper, though, I did find that my editor, Dale Schroll, at the time, he was just, a big proponent of mine because I think he realized that I was funny. I do remember him telling me one time, don't tell anybody you write a humor column because somebody's always going to think or say that you're not humorous.
Right.
But to watch that humor, you don't want to throw it around too much. But that was sort of how I, set up the writing style. And then when I was starting out and with that Laugh Your Aspen troupe, then we kind of started kind of doing our own thing and broke into smaller groups. And I heard that Louie Anderson was going to be doing a comedy camp at Comedy Works in Denver. And they were giving away, like they had a couple spots, like scholarship spots. because it was expensive. It was out of my Colorado budget for sure.
Mhm.
So I used my writing expertise, I guess, and just went to write, and I got it. So so I won that scholarship with Louie Anderson and was able to do that. So I did get some professional instruction and learned a lot. Ralphie May was there, rest in peace. He's passed away since, and he was great because he showed us during the camp, about joke construction, stage, and all that. But then they also had us as a class go to Comedy Works, and we were backstage in the green room. I met his wife, and she actually encouraged me to start doing my own things because I was telling her, well, I don't really live in Denver. I actually live about 2.5 hours west in a town called Glenwood Springs. And so there's not a comedy club like there is here in Denver. And she just flat said, just start your own shows, just create your own shows. So we started doing shows at the Bayou. I think last Fridays or something like that. I'm trying to remember how we set it up. And then we did some other shows at some other venues in Glenwood, but I definitely took her advice and just started, and that's sort of how the April Clark show came about, because I really wanted a format where it was like a late night show, sort of like, because I grew up on David Letterman, of course, he's from Indiana, so we all love him here, and Johnny Carson. So I wanted a show where I was sitting at the desk and I was interviewing people and just kind of combining my skills with journalism and comedy. So that's how that came about. But a lot of times when I ran my own shows in Glenwood, I would be the host, and then I would just get a bunch of my friends and we would put together a show. And that's how it happened. We had a good time.
I really feel like you and a few others, Don Chaney comes to mind,
Yes.
kind of started this wave of local comedy in that part of the world.
Yes, I would say that Don and then Mark Thomas and Rob, gosh, I'm just naming off names here. Beth Brandon. We kind of were just, we all came together. We're like, we don't really have the scene that Denver has, and there's not a lot of open mics. We did do an open mic once at Rivers, and I think that went over pretty well. So yeah, we were just kind of a bunch of funny people that wanted to be stand-up comics, and we kind of made it happen that way. And
Nice.
I'm happy to always see when it's still happening, and Don's up there. Mark now he moved out of state, so he's not in the Valley anymore. But I do see Beth Brandon doing comedy quite a bit, and then Don's been up a few times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So do you think somebody has to just kind of have that funny gene, or grow up in a family where there's a lot of humor, or can it be developed?
I would say it can be developed, but you really do have to have a sense of humor in terms of just always seeing kind of the funny in life. If you're too serious, I don't know. I mean, there's been a few serious comics that have just like deadpan kind of style, but ultimately they're the kind of person that just gets a kick out of everything, even at funerals. I mean, my dad tells jokes at funerals. So, it's sort of like you can't let even a sad situation stop you from telling a joke. I would say it's probably a mixture, though. Yeah, I mean, it really does help to learn and watch a lot of comedy. That's why open mics are really important for stand-up comedy and comics coming up, because they really need to see how it works and how to do it right, and how to practice. It takes a lot of practice. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm one of those people myself that sees a lot of hilarity in the world all the time, but communicating that to other people so that they also find it funny is always sort of challenging for me. So I think what you do is amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I don't know. Sometimes maybe people might not think I'm that amazing if I'm making jokes out in a serious situation, but it's funny. I always have this feeling like people, they can't really tell if I'm serious or not. Like, or I don't try to say I'm just joking a lot because they'll always think I'm joking. Then they'll
Right.
never think I'm serious. But I do always have that feeling like people are like, I wonder if she's being serious or not.
Oh, sure. So how are you using your humor in your mom life, in your work life? How is that incorporated now that you're not doing stand up so much, but you're moving on to some other things?
Right. Oh, yeah. I definitely have to laugh a lot. I was going to add in my bio that I like to tell jokes to the dogs and cats. We have 2 cats and a dog, but I don't think they appreciate my humor. Um, but I just find I have to kind of find the humor in everything, even when, a baby is crying a lot. Although I was very lucky, I did not have a big crier as a baby. My baby wasn't too bad. But there were very like situations when he was sick, and right now he has strep throat, and I just kind of have to, I'm not laughing in his face about it, but I'm just like, wouldn't you know, it's Christmas time, and we're trying to bust out all the things we have to do. So I just kind of have to chuckle, and I say a lot, you got to be kidding me.
Uh-huh.
You got to be kidding me, because you got to be kidding me pretty much sums up a lot of how I parent. But I find some humor in some of the kids stuff. Like the elf on the shelf to me is funny, especially when I forget to put him back out or something. And
Uh-huh.
then, there's stories that have to be told about last year. We actually accidentally left him out for the season. So we just said he was on quarantine for COVID, and then he couldn't fly out because of COVID restrictions. So you should kind of make anything funny at that point.
Hmm.
Here's an example when my son loves Peppa Pig, so we'll be watching Peppa Pig, and I just find myself speaking in an English accent,
Uh-huh.
which is probably not the greatest English accent you've ever heard, but I crack myself up when I talk like the Peppa Pig characters. And the key to that is I'm cracking myself up. I'm not sure if everyone else thinks it's so hilarious.
That's
But
exactly where I am at 90%
yeah,
of the time. I make myself laugh.
that's good. Keep doing that, because that's the only way you can survive motherhood, I think. Um, and then I do watch a lot of SNL still to this day. Always gets on my nerves when people talk about how it's not funny anymore, because that's not true. There are a lot of funny people. I just watched the one with Billie Eilish this last past Saturday, and it was great, and it was amazing, and everybody's funny. I don't know. People are so hard on people when their job is to be funny, though.
Right.
And that's like the worst you can say to a funny person, when you say they're not even that funny, or so and so is not funny. And that's not true. But yeah, I watch that now, and then TikTok is coming. It makes me laugh on the daily. There's a lot of things with it that I haven't quite picked up. I'm still learning about TikTok, and my channel's kind of boring right now, but I do have intention of someday maybe getting into being funny on TikTok.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
something for us to look forward to.
Yeah. I mean, right now I just got a bunch of food preparation because I really wasn't sure, and I wasn't really ready to put myself out there so much to
Hmm.
be in the TikToks. Because I actually think that's a lot of pressure. You have a very short time to either be funny or make a point or tell a story. I mean, sometimes in less than 30 seconds. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting
It's
medium
a
there.
it's an art form, for sure.
I
For
think it
for
is.
those who do
Yeah.
it well, it's really something to watch. I really applaud their creativity because I have not stepped out there in that way either. It's a little intimidating.
I think so too, and that's probably our age speaking right there. But because I feel like everybody else is like secondhand, like the younger 20s, and even my 12-year-old, he makes some funny, some good TikToks. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I still have to pick that up.
I have a question for you about your self-deprecating humor.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty common for people who have anxiety, who are maybe socially awkward, to, just make fun of themselves, be self-deprecating. How does that affect your mindset as far as being positivity, being bringing you into a better place?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I don't know like what the therapists think about that I use that so often to make me feel better. But it's something, I don't know, I developed that early on. And I might have picked that up from my dad as well, but because he would always say he had a pretty rough childhood. So I think that humor is what got him through a lot of things. And I just like, I don't know, because I just don't take things that seriously, even though when the anxiety hits, my husband would disagree. He would say, because he can see when it kind of takes over. I'm very expressive in my face. Like he can always tell when I'm feeling very anxious. So I would just say that I don't know. I don't go too dark. I don't like things get too dark for me. And the self-deprecating it's not like nitpicky. It's kind of an overall, just kind of joke about myself and hope people laugh. Because I always want people to laugh with me, not at me.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
And that's kind of how it feels.
I've read a few therapy articles over the years about how maybe that's what some folks do to keep people from laughing at them, is that if I laugh at myself first and invite you along for the ride, then you can't make fun of me.
Yeah. And I definitely found that to be the way my writing style was with the column. Like, because I was so out there, as you know, I mean, everywhere I went, people were like, hey, you're the girl from the paper. Yeah. And every guy I dated out there, they would be like, are you going to put me in your column? I was like, are you interesting? If you're not, no, you won't be in my column. Like, you should be happy if you make it in, because I only write about interesting people. But no, I mean, I got that a lot. So I was just very visible. And that wasn't always the most comfortable feeling. I think a lot of people might think that I'm totally cool in the spotlight, and I love it. But there was times I just wanted to go to the grocery store in my sweatpants and not be the girl from the paper.
Yeah.
But I was always the girl from the paper. So I kind of just had, and there would be like embarrassing things I would do, like back when cell phones were kind of new. I lost my cell phone all the time. And one time I lost it at like the brew pub. And I think somebody looked at all my pictures, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I think I even wrote a column about it. I just went out, I just decided I'm just going to write about it and let everybody know. There may or not have been some photos people saw from my phone. But I try to just kind of jump. I'm trying to think of the word. I just kind of like do it first, and then let people kind of decide if they want to, laugh with me or at me.
Right. They can do it in the privacy of their own home, right?
Yes, thank goodness. Yes. But I definitely think about things like that, and I am not totally confident. I know I think, and you could probably agree with this, being in the media and having a recognizable voice, as well as people recognize you personally. Yeah. You just, it's not as easy or as comfortable as people think. That's why I always get real frustrated when people pick on actors and actresses, because I feel like their job is way hard, and there is no way I could do it as a living I mean, it's very difficult to entertain all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So,
And we
yeah,
were, in a relatively small town, you and I know that
yes.
probably for years in Glenwood after I came on air there, I would not go out in public unless I was, well dressed because it didn't take long for me to realize that people recognized my name. Like if I was at the store, if
Oh,
I had to
yeah.
write a check or give a credit card or something like that. Um, and there was a lot of stress and probably a lot of it that I put on myself. And that's just in, small town America. I can't imagine what that would be like amplified for somebody who's known all over the world.
Exactly. Well, I kind of feel like it when I came back from Colorado to move back home, because I moved back to my, small hometown, and all the people from high school and all the people, there's all these insecurities I still have. Like,
Mm.
that girl, I'll just be like, I'll see somebody and I'll be like, she doesn't like me at all. And I mean, why am I letting something like that bother me? But yeah, it can continue throughout your life. And so I just, I don't know. That's why I still do the self-deprecation thing. A lot of my Facebooks are kind of that way. Yeah.
Well,
My
for what it's
Facebook.
worth, I think the world loves you. I've
Oh
always,
gosh. I like to think so. That
I've,
makes my heart happy to hear that.
yeah, I've always felt like you were very well loved. And I think you probably feel like most people do. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons that we both have gravitated toward this place of trying to help people have more fun and positivity and playfulness in their lives, because maybe that's what we also want for ourselves.
Oh, I like that. And that would be very true. Yeah, because I really do get a lot of gratification from helping others and being in a situation where I can maybe be the funny one at work, or the one that cheers somebody up that's having a bad day.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I have it. Like, I'm not the kind of person that wants to be the boss over everyone, or, this high powered executive corporate kind of, never been my jam. And so I'm more of like a team player. I kind of like to be part of the flow as opposed to controlling it, I guess. Kind of think of it that way.
Yeah.
I was thinking that the other day. Yeah, because sometimes I get hard on myself because I'm like, why haven't I pushed myself to, be making six figures and being like, because there's all kinds of opportunities in Indianapolis for me to be that type of person. But I think I just, yeah, like you mentioned, just kind of gravitate toward making people feel better, helping others, and really just like, that's why I kind of always wanted to be the life of the party. I mean, I always just wanted to bring the fun, like you
Well,
said.
I'm hoping you can help a few of us who would also maybe not be like to be the life of the party, but at least be able to land a joke.
Yeah,
do you, do you,
exactly.
do you have a secret you can
Um,
share?
I would probably say I definitely like read the room. That's one thing. I mean, I kind of knew that before I did the Louie Anderson comedy
Uh-huh.
camp, but know your audience, like, and just don't try to tell jokes or be funny at a party or even a work kind of event if it just seems like it would be so out of place. Now, I'm not saying I haven't stuck my foot in my mouth before and said some super awkward things, but usually I'm able to laugh. Like, if I say something super awkward, I can usually get away with people thinking I'm joking, but it has happened. But yeah, definitely read your room. Don't come into a situation telling dirty jokes if you can tell you're gonna really, really offend somebody, and just not offend, because everybody seems to be offended lately about a lot of things.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's kind of a pastime to be offended by something lately, but I would definitely say that just pay attention to who you're telling jokes to, and don't make anyone feel like inferior. I've never wanted to put somebody in a position where they were sad or my jokes really hurt their feelings.
Right.
Even if that has happened, it's possible. But like I told you, most of my jokes and my sets and things like that, they were more about me. That because of that, I just never felt real comfortable with putting people on the spot. I've never been super great with crowd work in terms of like when a heckler is messing with me. Because it's just like I'd rather joke about myself.
So you're the nice comic.
Yeah, I guess you would say that. And not all my jokes have been nice. Like I said, my 12-year-old's always trying to get me to tell some of my jokes.
So how do the jokes differ from pre-mom wife April to now? So how has that changed for you in this maybe different segment of your life, from single gal to mom and wife?
Oh yeah. I probably have toned it down a little bit. There was a lot of sex, which reminds me of Sex in the City, which I was going to go there. I got a lot of that. I was Carrie Bradshaw when I was the columnist at the paper. So that kind of aura kind of followed me around anyway. And that's sort of maybe why I was in burlesque in Carbondale and got into that scene. But I feel like you can be funny and sexy.
You can or you cannot?
You can. Yeah, you can. I
Yeah.
probably am not as much as I used to be. So I think that would probably be the biggest thing is I just told a lot of those dating jokes and stuff that was happening to my 30-year-old self, which my life was a lot different when I was my 30-year-old single self. 30 something single. Yeah. And I wouldn't say I was wild, but I definitely didn't sit around and watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy all the time. And now I do in my evenings.
Are you saying that now you do?
Oh, I do. Yes. And I love Jeopardy. Yeah.
Are you any good at it?
We do play, and my husband and I do get a little competitive, and then sometimes we do try to beat each other, but he comes up with some good ones. I know all the pop culture ones, so that's easier for me, the pop culture Jeopardy.
Well, that was your life.
Yeah, pretty much so. And it still is a little bit. I'm not as cool as I used to be, but I try to keep up with the current rappers and Kardashians and things like that.
Oh, fun. You probably know way more about that than I do, for sure. Well, I've dug up a quote, and I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. I hope it doesn't make you too uncomfortable. But I thought it was great. This came from an article that was written about you in the Greenfield Daily. I think it is the publication.
That's where I interned in college, actually, too. I was an intern at the Greenfield Daily Reporter.
Okay.
Interesting.
And in this article, your life goal was to become a love interest in a Cialis commercial. Can you tell me why that would be your life goal?
Well, it is funny because before I moved to Colorado, I was trying to fit myself into this corporate mold. And I worked at Lilly, who created, and they're based in Indianapolis. They created Cialis. I was on the Cialis product team when it was launched in the United States. The very first, So back in the day, and I mean, I was even sitting in a meeting when we were coming up with the language that I was the editor for the 4-hour erection thing. And I was trying to keep a straight face the whole time. If you can imagine me sitting in meetings at Cialis,
Oh, wow.
So that's probably a lot where I just find I still crack up when I think about my time on that team. But I do remember them asking me during my interview, because it was quite a process. And I had like 3 or 4 people just staring at me, asking me if I would be comfortable in a scientific situation where we were speaking about erections. And I probably was laughing inside. I was probably trying to be like so serious because, like I said, I was on my career track to be a corporate type person, but that was pre-Colorado. And I definitely found my calling moving to Colorado. But I also do, I'm with a talent agency in Indianapolis called Talent Fusion, and I'm trying to be an extra when I can in commercials. I haven't quite landed a lead yet, but I've been an extra. The last time I was extra, I think I was at a party, so I must have that party girl look. But yeah, I wouldn't mind getting that gig because it would pay well. That's for sure.
That is hilarious. And you know what? The irony is unbelievable. The fact that you went into comedy and probably the butt of more jokes than any other in the last 20 years.
Exactly.
Is Cialis or
Yes.
the 4-hour erection.
Yes, I do. I think I actually worked that into my set. I didn't always tell those jokes, but I do remember telling some of those jokes in Colorado. And yeah, so that was fodder for humor along the road, like 10 years down the line. I had no idea that someday I would be telling jokes about that. But
yeah, you and every other comedian on the planet. Oh,
I know it. Weird, right? I know, but I really was. That's a true story. I was on that team and we launched it in the United States, and it's just amazing. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, what's the funniest thing that's happened to you lately before we wind this up? Gotta know.
The funniest thing that's happened to me lately. Oh my gosh. I immediately go to like my kids or something. And I'm trying to think. Let's see. Oh gosh, I know. Sometimes I'm so tired.
That's parenthood, right?
Yeah, parenthood makes me tired. And it's not that funny, but when I had COVID, because I did actually this year, and I lost my taste and my smell. And so I was pretty miserable then. And that's not hilarious by any means, but it does make, it makes like eating and enjoying food very strange. But it's mostly like the brain fog. I will walk into a room and just be like, why am I here? And I know it's a little young for that, but also I'll read something or I'll know something. I'll just know something, and I'm not sure if I read it or if someone told me, and it's just awkward sometimes. But gosh, I mean, that's not hilarious by any means. And I'm trying to think. I always go to like the most embarrassing possibilities of, and that's what I think would be funny for me. Which is a little weird because most people don't like to talk about embarrassing topics. But yeah, I guess I don't know if that's that hilarious. But the taste and smell thing is weird though. And I always say, like, I have no idea because I got the taste back, but the smell, I still don't know if like my boys are stinky and I'm sending them out into the world. And you know that boys like to fart a lot.
Yeah.
So the fart joke. So now I don't know if anyone's farting around me, and I don't know if I fart if it smells bad.
Are you still without the sense of smell?
Yeah, no, it hasn't come back. It's probably been like, it'll be 2 or 3 months, like 2 months for sure. 3.
Wow.
So yeah. So my fart joke game is down right now because I got nothing. I just can't. Yeah, there's smell, and so going through life without being able to smell is just odd. And it's funny to me sometimes because, like I said, I just don't know if anybody smells bad or
Well, there's so many things that are connected to your sense of smell and to, I think, smell in some studies I read some time ago. I have absolutely no resources to point to for this, but my understanding is that your sense of scents are the fastest way to get to the brain and restore old memories.
Well, that would make sense too.
That makes sense to you walking in the room and
happen,
not knowing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are funny things that happen when you smell funny smells.
Yeah.
So I'm totally missing out on that.
Oh, wow. Well, I hope that restores itself soon. I understand.
Yes, me too. And that's
people...
all I can do is laugh about it. It's not anything serious, thank goodness. And yeah, I came out of it okay. So, but yeah, I would say, and then the embarrassing things that came with motherhood are awful. Sometimes funny, like I mentioned hemorrhoids, and I'm not going to get into it too much because my husband will probably die if I go on and on about hemorrhoids, but they're not funny, but they're funny that they happen to me. So.
I hear you. They're a real thing. They're not just something people joke about, right?
I know, and nobody talks about them.
Who knew?
They're so embarrassed. But hey, I could be the lead in a hemorrhoid commercial. Now that would be like real life.
That'd be authentic.
Yes, it would.
All right.
Preparation H. I'm available for you.
Put that out there. If you are creating a hemorrhoid commercial, April's your gal.
Yes, just putting it out
there. Look her up. Awesome. Well, do you keep your husband and your boys in stitches all the time?
Oh, well, I don't know, because sometimes mommy is not that funny.
Yeah, right.
when she's so super stressed out. So I don't know. That's a great question because I feel like they are way funnier than me a lot of times. And luckily my husband is funny. That's why I was attracted to him, of course. He's not a stand-up comedian type comic, but he's very funny and says a lot of funny stuff. And my boys, they still don't. I'm not sure if they're totally have bought that I was a comic, because it's hard. It's hard to imagine, when I'm mad, that there's so much laundry to do and things like that.
You're not laughing about that.
No, not at all.
Is there any evidence out in the world? Do you have videos or?
Yeah, there have been like some YouTube. And I don't know if you have to look under April Clark. But then more of my recent, I don't think they taped any of that. I think it was all, yeah. So that's why I was like, I got to get on this TikTok situation. I got up my game. I got to upgrade to 2021 here and just start making some funny stuff, making some funny content.
No pressure, but we'll be watching.
Oh, I thank you. I appreciate that. No pressure at all. But yes, I'll work on it. And I'm just looking forward to kind of figuring out how to do the motherhood thing and stay relevant as a comic or a humorist. Some of my writing is more on the humor. And so, nice. I just want to keep that up and look forward to the future. And definitely getting out of those baby years has helped me a lot. It's all kind of a blur a little bit, but definitely am having a little bit I wouldn't say I lost my sense of humor during those early formative years when I was caring for a baby, but I definitely don't remember a lot of it. It's hard. Yeah, it's very hard to have a baby.
It's kind of a blur.
Especially when you're 43. Yeah. So it's a little difficult.
I can't even imagine. I can't. I was a grandmother by the time I was 43.
I know. And most people and all my friends have kids who are definitely grown and they're older. And
yeah. Well, It's been so great to catch up with you, hear some of your stories, and and hopefully light a fire to more creativity and humor as time goes on that we can follow. I
hope so.
I will put all your appropriate links in the show notes so folks can find you.
Great.
Is there any other last words, last things that you want anybody to know about what you've got going on? Or
well, I would just probably say I live out in the Midwest, and I know that would be kind of shocking to a lot of people that used to know me and just think that I was the girl about town kind of deal. But for now, I'm just trying to kind of get past these really early motherhood years, which are hard on everybody. And the town I live in has 2 of the best fried chicken restaurants in the whole state of Indiana. So I joke that I live in the fried chicken capital of the world.
Wow. Yeah, it's hard to believe since I'm down here in Kentucky right now. Isn't that the fried chicken capital?
Oh, I guess you're right. I know. I might be overstepping a little bit. Sorry, Kentucky. Yeah, I appreciate KFC very much. But yes, it's funny. Yeah.
Wow.
It is the thing. And but yeah, I live in this little small town that's got these amazing fried chicken restaurants that everybody raves about and talks about. So if you just want to picture me sitting around eating fried chicken, go for
it. From the Wheeler Opera House in Aspen to small town Indiana eating fried chicken.
Yeah. That's me.
That's quite a journey, April. It's a pleasure. It's so much fun to connect with you and catch up and hear what you are about and some of the stories from before. And I will be reading the room at my next party.
Yes, definitely read the room and try not to tell too many dirty jokes in front of grandmothers. Oh, great grandmothers, I guess.
Okay.
Or anyone that would be really offended by a dirty joke.
Maybe I should poll the room.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I tell?
What's your radar? From 1 to 10, how do you feel about dirty jokes?
Right. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to talking to you again and following this podcast because it's really great. I love the positivity. I love the idea of creating happiness for others. So,
thanks.
Thank you.
Be sure to check the show notes for links mentioned in this episode and join us in the Living the Good Life Facebook community for previews of each episode, the opportunity to pose questions directly to our guests, bonus content, and a community of people committed to living their best life and sharing the journey. Thanks for listening. Let us know what value you received from this episode and what you'd like us to explore in the future in the comments. And please take a moment to drop us a like or some stars. I'm Kimberly Henry. Let's get out there and live the good life.